One of the other amazing things that doing Grin and Cantin and OIT on DVD, which became the definitive collection DVD, was that it brought back a whole load of people who were interested in OIT and had been as younger people. So not only did we have Danny on board, but throughout Stop the Traffic, we gained Carly Sefton Wilson, who came back and effectively was like an assistant director. So I suddenly had this amazing support team, and Dave Jones came back. He wrote just an incredible score, which literally underscored the whole play. And the support we had from them, and Kat Chivers, who was, very committed to creating costumes for us. And I don't know whether you remember much about the rehearsal process leading up to the opening performance, or should we just go straight on to the opening performance?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah? So...
Because it would be in the new build. It would be in Oasis.
No, it was in Oaklands.
Yes, this was the way
that
was filmed.
So when we first were with Oasis, we were on split sites. We were at the Millbrook School and Oasis, and Oakland's building with Oasis running it. So we were still in the old building, in the old lovely theatre. But what Oasis brought was a kind of professionalism. We had a PR person, John Cunningham, and his team, created, this was the thing for the premiere, an invitation, and Chris Webb became involved in the design. So we were logoed, we had a logo. And Stop the Traffic, how did it come about? I can remember the first meeting with Oasis. I can remember sitting next to the head, and Oasis are linked with Stop the Traffic. And they had many people coming to talk to us about different things. And one of the people was Bex Keer, who came and talked about human trafficking. And I said to Ian Golding, who was the head of our part of the school, I said, this would make an absolutely incredible production. And he agreed and fixed up a meeting, and we went ahead, and that's what happened. And just the design, this is the programme we had, and it's the quality of it is just so different to the little paper programmes that I've possibly shown before. It just was a big step up. There's Caden and Lauren from one of their scenes, the cast. And we had such a strong cast. You will have heard me talk about Alex, Catherine Wiltshire, who'd been in Graham, Mike Mears, who was Graham, Gemma, who was Graham's mum in Race to be Seen, and Lauren came back. She, by this point, was at university studying drama, but still travelling over to meet us. There's Charlie, Rob King, Kyle Nicholas, who was a younger guy, together with Callum, who was also a younger guy who went on to do drama at university. Hayley Wilshire had just come back from university. She's now a dance teacher, but we had an age band that was, the youngest must have been probably Kyle, and there's Caden, who was a friend of Charlie's from his school, who came back. My God, it goes on. We had a big cast, and they were age range. And Matt Savage, so important. Matt came back from Youthist, so he was out at work, being a delivery driver every day, and then coming back and working with us, and. So we had an age range, probably, I think Kyle and Callum probably were 13.
Yeah,
they were younger. Right. And then up to Alex, who was probably 22 or so. Kylie Boylett came in, who was from university and just wanted something to do, and met with one of the people from Oasis, and they said, why don't you join the youth theatre? And they were kind of mid-20s, so we had a really interesting age range of people.
It was that age range for sure that brought
maturity.
Yeah, and an understanding, and obviously because of what we were tackling with was really deep material, it kind of just matured the whole thing, and we really had to...
And at this time, human trafficking was something that seemed like from another world. We'd never heard, with the Rochdale thing hadn't broken. I think that part of the story that we tell is from that Rochdale scandal. And it all sounded such a world away, but they were saying to us, no, this is happening. So we were, without really realising it, right at the cutting edge, and the newspapers picked up on it. That was the scene that Charlie was talking about in the last video, the Veronica scene. So you had to transfer that to involve the whole cast. I don't know whether you remember.
That was just so fun, yeah, because you gave me and Matt kind of full ability to do whatever we wanted with that. It's just like, right, we've got this lovely scene, we know the kind of skeleton of it, let's get everyone involved, and the more bodies is always better for these types of things. And it was great. We didn't have many, dancers as such in the cast, but it was lovely just moving with a big bunch of people, and we were kind of being that ensemble, the Greek choruses or whatever. Yeah. But it had a real nice attitude to it, which was cool.
And there's the little young Charlie being the predator with the Stop the Traffic logo.
I tried to find my T-shirt, but I didn't. And instead, I had to wear some branding.
For BMT, Barely Methodical Troop. And there's Charlie again with Kyle.
So tiny. Who was a Michael Jackson impersonator.
Of course, yeah.
Sad that
so he could also do these kind of movements, couldn't he? Yeah.
He could do those.
Yeah. And then we came to the performance, and again, it was upgraded because they had a big. We had a theatre downstairs, and then upstairs there was an upper studio, and they had. I don't even know what the word is. It was a very posh thing where you went and you had like little buffet before. It was kind of like a grand opening, and it was just treated so seriously. And at that grand opening was organised by a lady called Kate Bulpit, who also later on in this story became super important in OYT. And we did the performance. We had Steve Chalke coming, and I can remember Steve Chalke was sat in the front row, who is one of the characters in the play, and I don't think he realised he was in the play because we hadn't interviewed him. And Phil Lane came over from Belgium. And all these stories were told beautifully by the youngsters, and we got reviews. And the first review was really sweet for me because it's from my dad.
Oh.
And my dad the next day wrote, "Well done. It was a very impressive show last night. I don't know that enjoy is quite the right word, but we were enthralled by both the play and the way that the young people performed it. It obviously had made a great impression on them and will probably affect the way they think for many years, if not for the rest of their lives. I was greatly impressed by the stillness of the cast in the 15 minutes before the play started." I don't know whether you remember that. Was that hard? You were all in the set.
Yeah. I enjoyed that a lot. I was used to being tied up in sets.
Yes. I didn't know that I could have done it. Also, I wondered if Charlie and his partner's bones are made of rubber. It was amazing that during the performance you could have heard the proverbial pin drop in the audience. That in itself says something about the effect the play was having. Again, well done. We look forward to seeing you on Sunday. Lots of love, Mum and Dad. So that was really nice, but we also had the local newspaper giving us a review. I'll read you just a few extracts from this. OYT's new work is a play with a message, which it manages to convey with stunning impact. This is tough, heart-rending material, which is tackled with sensitivity, but without pulling any punches. Fine ensemble work by the company. It was anchored by a strong performance from Alex Chalke, who played Phil Lane, as one of the people behind the campaign. I have to say about Alex, he managed to do a part that is basically narration and bring personality to it in a way that few other people, I think, could ever do. Matt Savage and Charlie Wheeler deserve mention for their brilliantly physical performances as the malevolent demon-like predators. A tremendous piece of theatre. I mean, what a review to get for the first time you perform it. And not only that, we had the editor coming in, and he wrote in the editor's article this: "The hour-long show was spellbinding and quite disturbing. It was also difficult to believe the production we were watching was the work of school students. Powerful, disturbing, and emotional. It was one of the best productions I have seen in a long time anyway." That was our first production. And again, we were covered so professionally in the magazine that the Academy produced. So this was a real upgrading. There were good things about joining the Academy. And we also, Carly's husband worked as a sound engineer for Sky Television. and he came in and did the engineering of the sound on the video, the DVD that we produced of Stop the Traffic. And it's 10 years later now, it's still probably one of the best DVDs that we did, although it was really early in the run.
Yeah. Wow.
Anything else you want to add?
The age range thing was so lovely, and the big cast was really cool. We had worked in kind of bigger casts before that, but the exciting thing about this one is before you've got, for example, if we were doing the most absurd Christmas musical, you'd bring a choreographer or a music director in. This was just us and you, and it was up to all of us as a collective to kind of create it. So that was one of the most exciting things about it, and I think why it worked so well, because as Grandad wrote in the thing, you can tell that we were so engaged in it as you watch the show, and I think especially watching young people speaking about something that as adults we should know, that's always a very powerful thing. It was. I have such fond memories of it. And working with all the older guys as well, because the cast was split into two. We had 4 kind of much more real characters as the Stop the Traffic console, and then the kind of
raising the money for the... And I can remember coming up with that, and that was based on the excitement that I'd seen in a film about the Labour Party towards their Tony Blair year's victory. And I wanted to have that level of excitement as they gradually arrived at the 1 million number, which they did, and it was genuinely exciting to watch that story as well as these horrendous stories, and it gave the play a really nice balance as well.
And in creation that was lovely, because creation, such a circus word, in rehearsal,
but it was making, wasn't it? It was the same.
We would be creating that half, and then the office people would be doing theirs, and so we would always show each other at the end. And that was lovely, because they were so different, completely different.
And the other input we had, and we must have had a grant for this, I guess, was we had a guy called Charles Chip Mead who produced the set. And when I can remember that coming in, and then we had Kirsty Housley coming in from Complicité to work with us much earlier on. So that professional input, and the set made so much. I can remember you seeing that.
Had a lot of fun.
And I was thinking, not sure about this set.
Really?
Yeah, I thought it's a bit bland. But I couldn't see the potential, but you could.
Yes. I mean, I had never really worked with this set.
We didn't know what set was.
Yeah, we had blocks and rosters.
Yeah.
But in EBYT, I guess I worked in big sets, but they weren't as interactive as what we could see this could become. I think that was the coolest thing about it. It was just another character.
That's really interesting. And straight away, the play changed once we put the set out.
All these wonderful angles and these kind of very harsh, shapes. It's really helped us in how we were then going to, create these harsh angles ourselves.
So that was the premiere, and now we were off to the local Totton Drama Festival, and boy, were we hopeful.